Hey guys, Emilio Espinosa with Espinosa Associates, here on another segment of our Mentorship Series. And today we have the privilege of interviewing Monique Lucas, who is the founder of Healing Roots Therapy. And she's a registered psychotherapist.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And how long have you been doing this, Monique?
I've been practicing the active psychotherapy since 2018. It's when I also started my own private practice.
So, psychotherapist versus a psychologist.
Yeah, so we practice the same act. The differing pieces between, I would say, psychologists, psychotherapists, and psychiatrists, some people get confused, is psychiatrists and psychologists can diagnose. Psychiatrists are medical MDs.
Okay.
So they go to medical school and then specialize in that area. And then psychologists, their designation and training is slightly different. So they tend to lean more into diagnosis, whereas registered psychotherapists practicing the act of psychotherapy kind of looks more like we're supporting mental health, whether it's anxiety. It can also be relational work for like couples and families. We just don't diagnose.
No diagnosis.
No diagnosis, yeah.
And how did you get into it? Like, why?
That's a great question. I've always found myself interested in culture and like just identity in general. And I was the kind of kid in high school that would stay wide awake watching the Gandhi, movie in religion class. And I just found myself always fascinated with people and how they navigate the world with its relationships with other people, religion, spirituality, themselves. And so I actually found myself in school originally in a theology program.
Okay.
And then following that, I found myself just holding a lot of interest, particularly in how can I support people? How can I help them? What would this look like? I don't see myself, doing a seminar or seminary school in terms of being a priest or whatnot. And then, the school I went to had this program. I kind of read into it. And I also found myself throughout, I guess, young age to young adolescent to a young adult, in these predicaments where people are just telling me their stories.
And coming to you for advice and
random stories, people that I didn't really know. And so I kind of felt like this could have been an extension of that. And so, I ended up doing my master's in counseling and spirituality at St. Paul University. And then, I came out of school and I was like, what am I going to do? What is this going to look like? Should I join an agency? Should I start my own private practice?
Because it's pretty gutsy. You got into it, like you graduated in 2018.
Yeah.
And then right away you started your own practice.
I'll be honest with you, it was actually quite scary to dive into private practice because usually people will work at an agency or just somewhere else. And I think I also did that too, but I also ran my own private practice. And everything about it was new. But I think in that learning experience, it was really important for me to make sure that the other professionals I had backing me up were ethically informed in terms of how we practice the active psychotherapy and just ensuring that I had the support that I needed to step into private practice.
So and then did you have obviously you had now before you opened up your own practice, did you have a business plan? Like how did you just...
Yeah, that's such a great question. It's so funny because my admissions letter to my actual master's program, I was reading over this a couple years ago, and one of the things they asked me is like, what are your hopes in terms of obtaining, a designation as a registered psychotherapist? And in it, I put, I want to open up a center one day, and have a team of like-minded people that supports the community I'm in. And not even really realizing that that's what I put down. Coming out of school, my intention wasn't like I was exactly going to have a group practice. It's like I'm just going to dive in and kind of like work for myself. And so it was kind of eye-opening to see just how like even writing things down, how you can manifest things and work towards it.
Ink to paper is powerful.
100%, right? 100%. And so, I can't say for certain coming out of school, it was this idea I had of like, I'm going to end up having a group practice. I think my idea was like, I can do what I have passion for, support people, while at the same time make my own schedule, work for myself, and then just continue to grow in the field. So I can't say I did, but just the way things kind of unraveled, opportunities came, and I said, why not?
Now, were you able to master when these opportunities presented themselves? Did you know, okay, here's an opportunity?
Yeah.
better seize it, or were you like, I'll get, maybe this is an opportunity, maybe not? Like, were you able to diagnose or figure out, oh, this is an opportunity to make it?
It's a great question. I think so in some capacity, but maybe not fully conscious of it. I would consider myself a bit of a risk taker in some capacity. I would say in some capacity, I knew they were opportunities. While they were things that I also found myself just reflecting and thinking on in those moments. And then it's kind of like those opportunities unraveled.
So where is the confidence? Because obviously you have to have that fearless, I guess, attitude.
Yeah.
Because you just, like we said, you embarked on this, you just started it.
Yeah.
And you said, I'm a bit of a risk taker. Like, where did that resonate? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Is that something that you build? Is that something that you were just so sure of yourself?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't sure of myself.
Okay. So it's one of those things, let me just sink or swim.
I think, fear is like this, or anxiety is this thing that kind of shows up in your life where like it presents, signs around uncertainty. And it can also highlight potential values that you have, right? And I think I wasn't certain, but I think I've always had a motto of like that thing that scares you, that thing that's like really like, I don't want to do this, or this is anxiety provoking, lean into it. Because you'd be very surprised on what you can learn about yourself and the capabilities you hold in those moments where you feel scared.
Where you feel like, yeah, you're right. Just like you're scared, but that's where you flourish.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
Where that like the profound you comes out.
Yeah.
Because we always say, get comfortable in uncomfortable moments or situations.
Yeah.
Because people don't like. Sometimes they get uncomfortable and they run the other side.
Yeah.
The other way. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and I feel like those moments of discomfort are like moments of like stretching, or they're just like opportunities. They're like these windows of opportunities you have. And not to say that you have to seize every opportunity that comes your way, but I think for myself, when I reflect on what it means to kind of step into this like as a risk taker, it would be to remind myself that like if this is something I'm scared to do, then I should probably try and do it and see what happens. If you swim or you float, great. If you sink, that's it. It is what it is. You figure it out.
Would you say it was a calculated risk?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, how much of that calculated risk was gut-driven?
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't even know what number or whatever factor to put on it, but I do feel like calculated risks are important when you're running a business or stepping into it. Yeah, you can't just go like blindsided, like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
Some people do.
Right?
Some people do, and this is why we're doing what we do.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I want people to know that they're not alone in this.
Yeah.
But
For me,
perhaps, and I think a lot of the time, sometimes I think people get it confused.
Yeah.
They said I took a risk, and I think a lot of, I guess, entrepreneurs, what's in their DNA is that they take a calculated risk, but they know it. I think deep down inside, you know that, you know what, I'm scared. I don't think it's gonna go this way.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it anyways because deep down inside, it resonates with you, right?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I, for myself personally, kind of link that to like, okay, this is kind of like where the universe is in alignment with me. This is kind of like my gut instinct is telling me to do this, and I also feel like this is where I need to be. So I can say calculated risks also align with those pieces, but I can't say I've always known what that will look like.
Right. Well, it's hard. Unless you do it, you're never going to know.
Yeah.
And how many practitioners do you have now working with you?
So right now we have about 23.
23.
Yeah.
20. I'm not deaf, but I'm just 23.
23.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And like, obviously 2018, we fast forward 2 years, we get COVID.
Yeah.
How did that impact your business?
Honestly, January 2020 was the first time I took on another team member, an associate therapist, and then an intern. And then COVID hit. So I wasn't even anticipating COVID. We didn't start.
I don't think any of us did.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
I think none of us did.
But it wasn't even like, okay, I'm going to build my practice in COVID. It was like, okay, I'm going to take this risk. COVID hit, and I'm like, oh crap. How is this going to impact us? What is this going to look like? Because now there's pressures. You're supporting somebody else's income, right?
Well, food on the table is dependent on you.
Yeah. So there was a bit of pressure and stress around that. But I think as COVID started to unravel, and I would say one of the positive things I noticed about COVID is it really normalized mental health. While I still think there's stigma, it really opened up more conversations around mental health and self-care in that realm. And I think that also supported, I would say, the growth of my practice.
Because I think with COVID, because we were so isolated,
Yeah.
and I think, and I'll be guilty of this. I mean, often I used to think, you know, mental illness is a really mental illness. Like,
Yeah.
how can you not, you know, how can you not get over that?
Yeah.
But then, you know, you start, I think COVID would help is like, I'm like, wait a second, we're all made up differently.
Yeah.
We're not the same
Yeah.
human being, and under different circumstances and pressure,
Yeah.
we're going to behave differently.
100%.
And I think with COVID, I think, you know, to your point in your business, I think it really helped
Yeah.
unmask a lot of that hold back. Because a lot of people, I think, especially males,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Especially males, I think because we used to have that environment, you gotta be tough.
Yeah.
Can't talk about your feelings.
Yeah.
But I think with COVID, it really like allowed just anybody
More of a platform.
to just speak out.
Yeah,
And
I
speak
agree
out.
with you on that. I totally agree with you, and especially in light of like men's mental health and the narrative that's often carried in many cultures and even in society is like, just suck it up, like figure it out, right? There's not like enough, I would say, safe spaces for men's mental health. But I think, yeah, COVID really helped in different capacities, and even I would say in certain cultural settings, you know. Some individuals who wouldn't normally reach out for support started reaching out for support. And so, yeah, I would say COVID really supported that while it came with a bunch of other maybe unpleasant things. And even just to speak to that, you know, your comment earlier, I think resiliency looks different in everyone, right? So for some people, it might be like, yeah, I don't know, I've never experienced how depression comes to visit me or anything like that. And some people, it's like, oh man, yeah, this is really visiting me. Today, some people might get it and some people might not. And I just might story that as like resiliency just looks different for everyone, right?
And stress, like you know,
Yeah.
to your point now that as you're speaking, I'm like, because most like, oh, you ever stressed out? And I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm just unaware. And it's often like I have a high tolerance of pain.
Yeah.
So sometimes I could have an injury and not realize how severe the injury because my tolerance is
It's higher. Yeah.
So it doesn't mean I'm not injured, but I think the same thing can go to stress.
For
I might be
sure.
feeling stressed, I'm just not diagnosing it or feeling it like everybody else.
Yeah, in the same way anyhow, right? And it can be your own personal experiences growing up or whatever, and anyone's experiences, right? That can contribute to not really necessarily recognizing like, oh, this is how this is impact, because it looks different.
On everybody.
Yeah, it looks
Now, excuse me. Now you got, I know we said 23, I still can't believe it. 23 practitioners. Now, do you have a system? Like, did you start developing the systems from day one?
Yeah.
Is this something that you've tried to, failed at some systems, changed them? Like, what do your systems look like as far as, like, say, hiring?
Yeah. So I would say 100% when you're diving into building or expanding a business, it's so important to have some form of system in place. The way I see it is it's kind of like a micro ecosystem that you're creating, because if you don't have some form of system, you're not going to have a foundation. And if you don't have a foundation, then when things arise or when something happens, you have to be able to shift it or implement something. And so I had some kind of foundation in place, and as the business continued to grow, those things changed.
Okay, so it's not like, oh, I started with this, I'm going to stick to it.
Yeah, no.
Had to change.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I would say one of the many things I've learned is learning how to be flexible and flow with the ups and downs that a business can bring. And I think that's also part of the system. Like even if you use an analogy and you think about the ecosystem, right? Sometimes you're going to have a tornado. Sometimes you're going to have rainfall. Sometimes you're going to have like a lovely sunset, right? And I think it's being able to kind of navigate those different storms that come up. And you're not going to know until you encounter them. And they become learning opportunities and moments for you to kind of think of, okay, what's working? What is it that I need to change? What do I want to do differently? What's going to be more supportive for my team members as well as like the business itself? And so, yeah, I will say that's going to forever be changing or growing because I think there are going to be new things to learn as it continues to grow.
And you got to be there as a leader too.
Yeah.
To these 23 individuals.
Yeah.
Which, again, I'm sure that's not easy too, because you have 23 different personalities.
Yeah.
And how do you handle that on a day-to-day?
It's honestly, I feel blessed. The team members I have are phenomenal, and I think that's one thing that I will say is as a business owner and when you're running something that is like multifaceted, it's really, really important that you have good relationships with the people that are on your team. Like, get to know them, figure out like what supports them, what doesn't work for them, ask for feedback, because if they don't have a safe space to kind of share what they're noticing is going well or not going well, and you can't see it, there's no way that you're going to be able to like shift or make that a positive working space for them as well. And so I would say it has been challenging at times in kind of like navigating what leadership skills look like. It's definitely been, I think, one of a positive experience for me, I would say, but also an ongoing growing experience of leadership skills. But I think I feel really lucky to have the team members on my team, because there's a lot of, and I could say I intentionally try to facilitate transparency, communication, openness to kind of like communicate what they feel might not be going well or is going well. And then also the intention to like check in, like, hey, how's it going? I haven't heard from you, or I haven't really seen you much due to like different schedules. Like, where are you at? Like, how are you feeling about things? So I think those things are important when navigating leadership skills. And I'm sure there are things that I've still yet to learn, but I think those are some of the things that
that's the beauty of what we're in the business that you're in, and just being in business for yourself.
Yeah.
It's funny, I've been reading a book, it's called by Darren Hardy, The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster.
Okay.
Beautiful book. And he talks about, one of the things he talks about in the later chapters, he says, it's not just about growing your business, it's about growing your team.
Yeah.
Because, when you mention, like, obviously you want to make sure that they're growing, that they're expressive, that they're in a safe space. Because if you're not giving them that, then they're not going to grow. And if they're not going to grow, then your business suffers.
For sure.
And then the quality of it too, right?
Yeah. And even as you just say that, I think when you have members on your team, it's really important to figure out where their strengths lie and help stretch that. Like, whatever that might look like in different settings, because I think exactly what you're saying, right? If you're providing a safe space for team members to provide, service to the community or whatnot, you also want to make sure you're providing a safe space for them to explore what those strengths are, right? And then helping them expand on those things. So, I mean, that book sounds quite interesting.
You got to read it. Beautiful book. Quick, what does a typical day look like for you?
A typical day, like, oh man. So my days, it can get quite stressful, but like sometimes I enjoy it. And I think I might even, before getting into the details of that, one of the things that I think is really interesting about owning a business is learning or being observant to the relationship you build with your business.
Because often people say, you have your own business. Oh my gosh, you can do your own schedule.
Yeah.
Take as much time off as you want.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Take tomorrow off. Let's go shopping.
Yeah, and I mean, and while that might well be the case in some situations, I will say it's not always dandy-dory. It's not always rainbows and sunshine.
Greener on the other side?
No.
Come on.
There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. And I will say this, I oftentimes feel like I'm always on, because people are always either asking me questions or clinical manager questions, and then they're asking me. And so like a typical day for me, I'm not just supporting my team, I'm also, doing things on the back end, what administratively needs to change, what we're learning every day. I'm also supporting my own clients on a day-to-day, or I should say weekly basis. And then I'm also training interns. So there's many hats that I'm wearing in my business, and while I love the excitement of that because it's something different and new every day, and I'm someone that's like, I don't like the mundane, like I can't do the same thing every day for like 3 months, and so this kind of brings that richness to it, but it also brings its challenges, and I will say stress at times, but I'm grateful for the type of stress.
And you take care of yourself though.
Yeah,
like you eat well,
for sure.
You train.
Yeah, for sure. I think those things are important. Those are so important. And I can't say I've always had a healthy balance around that. That would be one of, I'd say, learning curves of running your own business, especially launching at the beginning, where you kind of feel like you have to do everything or get everything done. I could say I was probably one of those people.
So you're one of those, okay, I got to get everything done today because...
Yeah.
And now you realize what?
No,
you're not.
That's not possible. You're just going to run yourself to the ground. You're going to burn yourself out. And when you burn yourself out, then you slow yourself down. And I think it's also in that learning, like, who can you lean into to delegate tasks to that you can't do? And I think that's been a learning curve.
Actually, that's a thing this book mentions.
Yeah.
Talks about delegating, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the times the reason we do a lot of it is because it's egotistical.
Yeah.
Because we're not trusting the other person to do it. So
Yeah.
we got to learn. I think as entrepreneurs, I think there's one thing you can take out of this is learn to delegate.
Yeah.
Learn to delegate because that's going to be powerful.
Yeah. I think trusting, right? I think most people, when you have them on your team, they want to excel, they want to do well, right? And so if you're delegating, you're also building that trust. Sure, nobody's going to do it like you.
Right.
But I think it's also finding people who are like-minded who can do it similarly, right? And it's not about perfect. It's about finding people who, share the same values, work ethic, and then leaning into that when you can is kind of how I would say.
Now, let's say anybody who's watching, how can they, where is your practice?
Yeah, so we're located in Mississauga near Square One, in the Village Center place. I don't know if you're
What's the address? We got to tell them the address.
We're located at 30 Village Center Place. And yeah, that's where you can.
And what kind of, so if I'm coming to you, what kind of help am I looking to?
To look for support in? Yeah, so we provide in-person and online services for individuals, couples, and families. Anyone dealing with anxiety, stress, it's a great big umbrella of mental health services. And then any relational issues you might be experiencing, whether it's, couples, with your partner, if you're having challenges with your partner, communication, infidelity, whatever that might be, or family issues, if you're having troubles with teens, our team.
That happens?
Yeah.
Problem teenagers? With today's society and social media?
Oh man.
I can just imagine the stories you must have.
Yeah. Definitely increase of need for support in that. So yeah, those are areas in which we facilitate support. And if ever clients do reach out to us and we feel like our therapist on our team isn't a good fit, we really value in ensuring that clients get their needs met. So we will find somebody, whether it's within the local community or close to us, to make sure that they just get the support that they need.
I know that you're a triple busy woman.
Yeah.
And you got, like you said, so many hats. So I really appreciate this. I know our viewers are going to get so much out of this. We got look, risk taker, fearless, resilient, using her gut, different hats. Administrator, like she does it all. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I know I did, and we'll bring some more of these ones so that you guys can see how other entrepreneurs, sales professionals, or just individuals who are just working a regular job, what we do to persevere in our day-to-day. Thank you so much, Monique Lucas. And pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.